G'day guys, welcome back. New episode of the Boundary Riders podcast, episode 55, and we have a massive amount of stuff to talk about today. We have to talk about the Essendon situation with the Essendon Edge, Collingwood's terrible start. We'll also be looking at our tips, the AFL fantasy review. So let's get into this episode of the Boundary Riders podcast.
And then Rankin from the pocket, don't tell me, Isaac Rankin!
Yeah. He's just got the license for a brothel.
Well, I think Gather Round's going to be AFL this next season. It's at the handle at the back, Nick Dacos to get the pies home! He's done it!
But as always, guys, for the Boundary Riders podcast, joined with my brother and Jack. And what an entertaining weekend of football we just saw.
Yeah, entertaining is very much an understatement.
Yeah, so we'll obviously get into the Essendon Edge stuff today and the Collingwood stuff, obviously the Peter Wright situation. But as we always usually do throughout the AFL season, we cover a couple of breaking news or little interesting stories throughout the week. And the first thing I wanted to talk about was the Travis Cloke runner situation. Now, I don't know if you watched the Swans game on Saturday night, but did you see what happened with Travis Cloke?
Yeah.
So I didn't actually know he was the runner for Essendon, but he was the runner for Essendon on Saturday night. And if you didn't see it, basically he ran onto the field and was pulling a bunch of Essendon players away from fighting or pushing and shoving and that. Pulling them out of the little melee that it wasn't much of a melee. But Travis Cloke was basically pulling all the Essendon players away and telling them to go back to their positions and yada yada yada. So the AFL have actually written to the clubs about runner conduct, but it does seem that Cloke will not be issued a formal please explain by the league, although the AFL's general manager of football operations in Josh Marnie has spoken to the Bombers separately regarding the conduct himself. Cloke did not touch an opposition player, but grabbed Nick Hind, Jake Stringer, Will Setterfield, and Nick Cox to remove them from the altercation. The AFL has since investigated the incident and has decided to take no action against Cloke, which I honestly think is the right decision. How did you feel about it when you first saw it?
I thought it was strange because you don't normally see the runner do that.
Yeah.
And I think it was the right action from the AFL not to do anything. Maybe a please explain would have been acceptable, but I think they got it right.
Yeah, I mean, maybe a please explain would have been okay. Honestly, I think Cloke was doing the right thing, and I think I mentioned it in the review earlier in the week, but I think Cloke was trying to get them back into their position to put their head into the game, because I feel like Essendon's head was not in the game in stages of the game. They were too busy trying to do the Essendon Edge tactic, whatever it was. We'll get into that in a sec. But I think that was pretty much it of the Travis Cloke stuff. Just reading through it a little bit more now. That's pretty much it. But basically, the league has reminded the clubs that players cannot engage in such... so there was also another thing as well with the pitch invasion on Friday night with Geelong and the Crows.
Yeah, that was them.
The play was halted during Geelong's win over Adelaide as a member of the public entered the field and came dangerously close to live contest.
Came close. He was pretty much on the fucking contest.
Yeah. Now, look, obviously he shouldn't be doing that and he's a bit of an idiot, but the fucking security guard... He couldn't have done anything, bro.
He literally sat next to him.
Yeah.
By the game.
And then got on his little mic or whatever and was like, hey guys, I think there's a bit of an issue here. Someone's jumped on the field. It's like, bro, I think that was your problem. I think he basically jumped over him to get on the field and then just ran in between the players and then, obviously got tackled by the security guards in the end after Ben Keys stopped him.
Yeah, I thought it was a pretty pathetic effort by Matt Crouch though when he finally did start, when he first got on.
I feel like
I think it was pretty good. I think it was like... I think I'd rather get hit by Ben Keys than Matt Crouch. So.
Yeah. Anyway, the league has reminded clubs that players cannot engage in such situations in the future and to be wary of escalating these matters for safety reasons, which, look, I don't... It's good they haven't done anything to the players. I don't think there's anything... They've not done anything bad, but there obviously is the concern that if someone's that stupid to jump onto the field and, invade the pitch, they could be anything. They could have a weapon on them as well. Because, the security that they have on the going into the games is pretty fucking nothing.
Yeah, well, as you saw, that they're not even security on the field. So
so outside the ground, it wasn't exactly the greatest. But in the end, those two little situations over the weekend have been pretty much sorted, and that's basically all the news to come out of that sort of stuff. A couple of things on the injury front. Mason Wood has undergone surgery on the broken collarbone, and also received concussion. So really disappointing for Mason Wood, and he's going to be missing, at least a month, if not 6 weeks.
It was a pretty horrific injury that was.
Yeah, with his collision with his teammate. And then with Liam Henry, it looks like he's going to miss a minimum of 6 weeks with his hamstring strain. That was really surprising, like the fact that he was injured. I didn't even notice it. But late in the game, he did come off with a hamstring strain. He's going to miss 6 weeks. And that's really disappointing for him as well, because that was probably his career best game.
Yeah, that's what I thought after watching the game. And it was a bad way to finish. A
really good performance.
Yeah, a really good performance. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the final one as well is Stephen May. Obviously, we talked about it in the review. But Stephen May has cracked 2 ribs and cracked a transverse process, the bony projection on either side of the vertebrae. But the D's are hopeful that he'll only miss a week. I can't believe that. A broken part of his vertebrae and he's going to miss 1 week? I doubt that.
I doubt that too. And
considering he gets pretty big, he's an intercept marking defender as well. He's going to get hit pretty regularly.
Yeah, and the fact is also, the good thing about it was that he didn't punch for a lung, because that would have been that would have definitely been quite a number of weeks. So, yeah.
That is lucky, but I find it very hard to believe that a broken part of your vertebrae, I don't know much about anatomy in the body, sorry, a shocker, but I can't imagine a broken part of your vertebrae is going to be 1 week. Yeah, especially for someone like, what happens if like someone goes up for a specky on his back and knees him right in the back, like knees him right in that area?
Yeah.
Fuck knows what's going to happen. But that's basically all the breaking news stuff that we needed to cover, guys. So before we get into the main part of the episode, Big R Designs, our very own football print company, is your one-stop shop for all your footy prints. We have designs for every single team, from Gold Coast to the Giants to Collingwood, Sydney. Any team, you name it, we've got it. We're going to be making more designs in the future, probably some for the Tasmania Devils as well. So stay tuned for that. Click the link down below if you want to check out some of the designs. And if you use the code BRPOD, you'll get 10% off your purchase, guys. And also, I wanted to quickly mention as well, thank you for the support on the latest video essay mini doco from the Saints video that I've made. I know some St Kilda fans probably aren't the happiest, but it was more just about the history of the St Kilda Football Club as a whole. So I hope you did enjoy it. If you haven't seen it, make sure to go check it out. If you did and you shared it to a friend, I really do appreciate it. But let's get into the Essendon Edge situation. So midweek, before the game between Sydney and Essendon came out and basically said they've got this new mantra of Essendon Edge, where they're playing on the edge, basically, and how they're going to be very tough. And then after they kicked 2 goals in the game against the Swans, the incident between Harry Cunningham and Peter Wright happened when Peter Wright collided with Harry Cunningham, who was coming back with the flight. And obviously Cunningham came off, he was concussed. There was reports after the match as well that he had memory loss, and a very scary situation for Harry Cunningham. It's a very tough situation, because I get the side of he's bracing for impact. I get the side of that, but at this stage now, it doesn't matter anymore. That's the thing. People are making the argument of Maynard got away with it last year. Did you not see at the start of the year when the AFL came out and said, from now on, you have to take the highest priority is the player, the safety of the players, basically. So even though Peter Wright may have been bracing for impact, it doesn't matter. He's going to get weeks. Now, this is being recorded on a Monday, so Tribunal comes out Tuesday night. So by the time this comes out on Wednesday morning, everyone will know what happens. I'm expecting 4 weeks. What do you think about Peter Wright?
I think he's going to get 4, minimum 3, basically because of what happened before the season with the rule change of from the Maynard situation.
I think as well with the Brayshaw, he retired after a football act that Maynard did.
Yeah.
So the AFL, obviously a duty of care with the AFL has to be done, but the AFL have also got to remember they've got lawsuits going through about head knocks and stuff from the players, ex-players and stuff. So they have to think about their pockets as well. Because the player, if, let's say, Harry Cunningham comes back 30 years later or 20 years later with CTE, has a huge bunch of problems, he can sue if the AFL don't take, adequate precautions or whatever. So they have to think about that as well. Now, On my opinion, now I know the Swans, I am a Swan supporter. I know people are just going to take that and say that my opinion doesn't matter. I think that if you want to take the point of like, oh, he was bracing for impact and all that sort of stuff, maybe Essendon shouldn't have came out midweek and said they're just going to be like, they're going to use this Essendon Edge mantra. And then to prove that as well of how much the I don't want to say dirty, but the fact that Sam Draper in the next quarter plays a very dirty act on Jake Lloyd when he takes a mark and just pushes him over. So if you want to sit there and act like, you know, Peter Wright was 100% going for that ball and didn't want to make a physical, didn't want to make it feel like Cunningham's going to earn this, maybe don't come out midweek and say that we're going to be like doing this mantra of Essendon Edge. That's my thoughts on it. Because if you're going to come out and make that sort of statement, if that sort of situation is going to happen, then people are obviously going to come out with the fact of like, oh, they're playing dirty. I think that's a pretty fair statement to have. And I also think as well, that situation, let's not act like that's not happened on a football field before where two players collide, but the player who's going for the marking contest, the forward, the different act they make is they go to spoil.
Yeah.
You know, I know that obviously there's different altercations and it's milliseconds of time. But there are players in the same situation in games around, probably in the round as well, that a player coming back with the flight, they saw that coming, and instead of going for the shoulder, the bump, well, to brace or bump, they go to fist and spoil, or they've got their hands up and try to mark it.
Yeah.
So I think Lee Matthews said as well that, you know, you're not going to take a mark if you tuck your arm in and bump, put your elbow out. So look, I don't think that Peter Wright was intending to knock out Harry Cunningham, but I do think he was trying to show some physical pressure early. That's just what my thoughts are. I know it's very tough to seem unbiased as a Swan supporter. When I first saw it, I was fucking dirty about it. As I cooled down about it, and that's why I didn't really say much in the review, because I was still pretty hot about it, about the altercation that happened. I don't think that Peter Wright meant to injure Harry Cunningham, but I do think he wanted to be physical.
Yeah.
And it obviously just came off as the way it happened. So, and to anyone who says, oh, the AFL's getting soft if he gets weeks, you're a fucking moron. I'm sorry, but if let's say that's your kid, Harry Cunningham, that's your kid, because the people who are saying that are either Essendon supporters or above the age of 45. Because back in my day, Dermot Brereton would thump people in the head, and that was like real tough footy. We always thought he was tough. Yeah, bro. Also, 40 years ago, people didn't know this, the huge amount of issues that happens with concussion. So yeah, the people. Imagine if that was your kid going back with the flight, and another kid, Peter Wright, knocks him out in that same instance. Then have that thought of like, oh fuck, that's terrible. He needs to take a duty of care. Yeah. That's just where I'm sitting.
And for that reason as well, if you look at it, this is in the AFL. So you've got the best doctors at the ground and the support staff there at the ground. You're not going to have that in country football. You're not going to have that at the local footy match.
Yeah.
Or even in the second tier leagues. You're not going to have the best for every single team. So you got to think about it like that they had the duty of care to know what was happening, and they knew what they were doing. Like, they knew the best treatment for it. It was to just get him off the ground, and he just couldn't move. He didn't move. And also like in country football, like you said, like family members, they're not going to think, oh well, it's okay. He was going back with the flight. It's okay. The forward was tucked in and
bracing himself.
They're not going to think that. That'd be ropeable if that was their parent. That their kid's just on the floor, on the ground like that.
Yeah,
no way.
Has memory loss and fucking doesn't even know where he is. That's just where I think as well. Like, obviously the AFL is the highest of the highest, but there are obviously kids growing up. There's country footballers watching this and that, and when they see that sort of instance happen, they probably there would be some sort of people who'd be like, oh, well, that's okay to do because I've seen AFL players do it. I'm sure that's a thing that happens. Like, you can even think about kids, like, obviously having, like, I think it's just like if the players in the game, the AFL players, go up and go to spoil, like what happens there if he puts the knee up into his back, let's say Peter Wright, puts the knee into his back and fists the ball, I don't think the same thing happens because Harry Cunningham gets an elbow to his head.
Mm.
He doesn't get an elbow to his head if Peter Wright goes and puts the fist through the ball.
Yeah.
That's just where I sit on it. Again, I understand if people think I'm biased. I just think at this day and age, he's not going to get away with it. There's no way in hell he gets 0 weeks. I think that's obvious. And I can't believe people are still thinking there's a chance of this happening. And I think Essendon are trying to combat this to be 0. So it shows how much they gave a fuck, let's be honest. I mean, at least with... look, obviously it's different to Jimmy Webster. I don't think it was like that. I'm not thinking it's that bad. But at least when Jimmy Webster did something like that and sent someone with a huge concussion issue, at least he took it on the chin and said, look, I'm going to take whatever they give me.
Yeah.
But obviously, it's two very different situations. I'm not comparing those two incidents together. But let's move on. We'll move on from the Essendon Edge stuff. Actually, no, one more thing about the Essendon Edge stuff. I totally agree with Tom Papley's point of fucking, you got to back it up in the game. And I think they got to... their head was too much about the Essendon Edge stuff, especially going into that second half, that they just lost all structure around, especially in defensive 50 and their defensive structure, because Sydney just dominated. They just cut through them.
Yeah.
So, I know you didn't see the game, but Sydney in the second half just cut through them, and they kicked, 20-odd goals in the end? Kicked 131 points.
Yeah.
And Essendon struggled for quite a while with their defence. So they can have this Essendon Edge tactics and stuff, not so much the dirty stuff, like Draper's push. But if they want to keep a toughness around them, that's great. But you've also got to back it up on the field, because if they... Let's say they keep this mantra of, really toughness or whatever, and they go to the end of the season and they've won 8 games. Whoop-de-doo, we've not made finals again.
Yeah.
So, I don't mind it, but the first 2 games, they only just beat Hawthorn because Hawthorn couldn't kick straight, and then they've lost to Sydney. They get St Kilda next week, big game for... this week, big game for them. But I will be very interested to see how long this Essendon Edge lasts, but also if it doesn't work, if they're going to get rid of it and then turn back to the soft bombers that we've seen for such a long time. So, I think they're just got to find that middle ground. But let's move on. The reigning premiers, Collingwood, are 0-3. Don't smile too much, alright? It's very interesting now because obviously 0-2, everyone was expecting them to bounce back because they played against the Giants and the Swans, 2 of the probably best formed teams at the moment. Then they lose to St Kilda. I guess it does beg the question, will Collingwood turn it around? Because now, they are playing Brisbane this week as well, up at the Gabba.
Yeah.
Such a big game.
It's probably the one team you don't want to face when you're in a slump.
Yeah.
At the Gabba. You don't want to play Brisbane at the Gabba in a slump.
Yeah, because they'll make every single little error look even worse.
Yeah, and the fact is that Brisbane aren't playing that well either.
Yeah, both teams need a win here.
Yeah, so it's going to be a huge game coming up, but yeah, it's not a team you want to play.
Do you think Collingwood can turn it around?
I think they can. I don't know if it's going to be this week, but you can pretty much count top 4 goodbye if they lose this week.
Yeah, I agree.
Because you need to... I think you can only cost yourself 5 games to make the top 4.
I think 6 is probably the loss.
Yeah.
6 is probably the most amount of losses you can have. And if they go 0-4, they're going to have to get on a run too. I think as well, Collingwood's just lost all the attributes that they had going last year. For their forward sort of structure and stuff, they had so much pressure on the ball. The ball was always getting to ground as well from their forwards, like the tools that they did have. They were always getting the ball to ground so their smalls could get on the move. Lockie Schultz has had a really poor start to his career at the Collingwood.
I think it's really poor. Like he's not played like this.
He never played like this at Freo.
Since he got a regular start at the Freo side, he hasn't played like that since this year. Like,
Yeah, and I think it is very interesting. I like we've sung his praises for all the way through the off season, saying that Lachie Schultz could be the recruit of the year, all
I didn't
kinds
think
of
that, but that was you. But
Hey,
yeah.
you sung his praises. I know you did.
Oh yeah, but I didn't think he was going to be recruited of the season. But
Oh, all right, whatever. Yeah, you were too busy thinking it was going to be Safa Ranakalia or something.
No.
One of the Port ones.
no,
Anyway, he's had a pretty poor start, but he's obviously not alone.
no.
And Nick Dacos on the weekend had a shocker.
I'm sorry, but it was his worst game of his career.
Yeah.
With all the fucking praise on him during the week, last week, on his 50th game, mind you.
Yeah.
He played his 50th game, and it was his shittest game.
Yeah.
And his start of the season's been really poor.
Yeah.
And for the fact that someone like a David King comes out half of the weekend and says, oh, it's okay, he only had a few bad moments, but he's still a good player. No! He's playing like dog shit at the moment. And that game, I'm not going to... I don't care. I'm going to say it. He was playing soft football. There were so many times in that game that he should have put his body on the line or been a team player, and he wouldn't go in for the contest, take a good tackle, go for a mark, or he just got the cheap football. And he didn't get a lot of disposals, and it showed because he didn't get the kick outs either.
Yeah.
So I think it was a poor performance. I think it was a pathetic performance by Nick Dacos, and people need to start saying it.
Yeah, I agree. By the way, he's a little bit angry because they didn't talk about Travis Spoke enough at his 350th game. But I do agree with you.
That's true.
I do agree with you, though, that Nick Dacos had a fucking shocker and it should be called out more. Because if a player of any other player in the competition had a game like that, they would have been called out for it.
Yeah.
Well, maybe not everyone, but most players, anyone who's on that lower echelon, just below that, like, S+ tier player, they would have been called out for that game.
Well, just to compare it to, though, Ryan Burns for St Kilda, he was actually playing his 50th game. Didn't know about it if you're a St Kilda supporter. And I thought his game was actually pretty brilliant as a player. I thought it was one of his best games he's played.
Yeah, I think
As
so
a St
too.
Kilda-
And I think he's been very much on the fringes for St Kilda for a long time now. But he had a very good performance in that game.
And I did predict pre-season that he'd be a breakout player for the Saints this season.
not to brag.
I did want to bring that up, but I do think he did play a really good game, and he's playing his 50th game as well. Why are we bragging about one player compared to another player when they're playing their 50th game as well?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I agree. But I mean, look, I understand. Obviously, it's been a very good start to his 49 games of his career, Nick Dacos. I don't think anyone can deny that. There's not been many other players in history that have had has had a gooder 50 games or 49 games as Nick Dacos. I understand that, and I get the praise around him, obviously, but he's not any different on the. Sorry, he shouldn't avoid any criticism. He shouldn't avoid criticism just because his name's Nick Dacos. And he had a poor game. He was jumpy. He was not going anywhere near the football. He didn't want to get contact on him. And the thing is as well, because he wasn't getting the ball, he wasn't doing anything for Collingwood. And I think at stages in that game, he looked disinterested in the contest, in the game itself. In his 50th game, he's like, oh, all right, whatever. I don't have to do it.
I've got the premiership.
I got a premiership. It's like, yeah, okay, I understand you won a premiership. Great premiership it was. Well, I think it was deserved. I'm not going to sit here and say it wasn't deserved. And he's had a brilliant start to his career. But your career doesn't end at 50 games. It doesn't end. If you want to end your career, at that grand final, go ahead. But you've still got a lot of footy to go. And I think there would be a few Collingwood fans who would have seen that performance from him and thought, that was pretty poor. And that's fine. Players can have poor performances, but they also deserve to be called out for it.
Yeah.
And on the Collingwood side, I do think they can bounce back. I don't know if it'll be this week as well, but I kind of sit on the point of now they won't make the top 4. They're going to have to do it the long way.
Yeah.
I think it's not impossible to win from outside the 4, because I think we saw last year that, if you get on a run, you can go far. And we saw the Giants nearly make the grand final, and Carlton, after the first quarter, they didn't do the best against Brisbane. But they had a good first quarter against them and could have made the grand final as well.
Yeah.
So I think you can still make the grand final now, especially with the stupid finals bye. I still think you can, but I think they can turn it around, but I think top four is now probably out of the question because I can't see them going. They'd have to win 18. Well, sorry, they'd have to win at least 15 games to make the top four now, and they're gonna have to so what? They're gonna have to maybe lose 2 or 3.
Yeah,
2 more, it's 3 more basically.
And the way can they switch it straight away?
Yeah,
switch it to playing the brand they played last season.
It's going to be tough. And it's very interesting for Craig McRae as well because he's had a pretty dream start to his coaching career.
Yeah.
He's had no real difficulties. Like the first couple of weeks, I mean, they lost their West Coast in 2022. That was probably his hardest he's had it, which obviously is a pretty big low. But yeah, I mean, he might as well have been sacked at that point. But he luckily survived that, and he got him to a prelim and then a grand final. So he's had a pretty dream start. So it's going to be interesting to see how he coaches under pressure because he has looked quite different on the bench the first 3 weeks.
Yeah, he's
hasn't looked the jovial self that he is. So look, it'll be good. Look, we'll see how they go. Collingwood, I will be interested to see how they can bounce back. I'll be interested, even if they don't beat Brisbane, how they perform against Brisbane.
Yeah.
And Brisbane aren't performing that well either, so it's going to be a big game between both of them as well.
Plus, you also got to think is that Brisbane are coming off the bye. Collingwood aren't, so that will be also interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, and Collingwood will be coming off they're still getting a 7-day break, so they're okay. But yeah, and then after that's gather round as well. So that's St Adelaide, so that's not exactly it is against Hawthorn for Collingwood, but it's not at the MCG. They have to travel, which is, obviously terrible for them. Oh fuck, I have to leave the MCG, it's so tough. But yeah, I think it's very interesting how Collingwood are going, and look, let's see if they can turn it around. I still think they can, and used to think they can. So next up, let's talk about the Tassie Devils. So, obviously, last week they were revealed to be coming to the AFL, the 19th club. I still haven't become a foundation member. I'm so sorry.
Oh my god, are you serious?
I'm sorry. I still think they got them up, though. But they've got over 100,000 members
150 now, I think.
150?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I'm trying to wait to be the 200,000.
Oh, you want to be that magical 200,000.
Yeah, I want to be that because I'm the reason that they get Matt Rao. Yeah. Anyway, over the week, they've actually been talking about how the list breakdown will work for the Tassie Devils. Now, have you seen any of this?
No, I haven't actually, no.
So, obviously, they have mentioned that the Tassie Devil list build is going to be a lot different to the Gold Coast and the Giants. Now, the Giants obviously went with a huge amount of draft picks and young players. The Gold Coast tried to make finals straight away. Didn't work. Now,
still hasn't worked.
Still hasn't worked. But they're going to be doing this is a very interesting way of trying to build the Tassie list because I think they've made the right point that this team has to be successful pretty quickly. Because if it's not, it's going to be very hard to build this team. It's not like the Gold Coast where they've got a lot of money to build them, I think. They're not this team, they've been waiting so long for a Tassie team that I think now is the top. They need to get this team to be successful pretty quickly. Not win a premiership, but, be competing for finals in at least the first 3 years.
Yeah.
I think that's fair enough to say. Now, very interesting thing is, they want this team to be successful pretty much straight off the bat. So they're going to be giving them draft picks, but in return, they have to get rid of them for experienced players.
Yeah.
So basically, there's no good confirmation on what draft picks they're going to get, but let's just say they get 1, 2, 3, 7, 8, 10. Let's just say that. Yeah. I know the Gold Coast got a very similar package when they first started.
Yeah.
What the Devils will have to do is they'll have to trade it to a different club. So let's say it was this year, West Coast finished down the bottom. They don't get that first pick, they get pick 4. What West Coast could do though is they could trade 2 experienced players or 1 experienced player down to the Devils for pick 1. For an example. Now, I thought this could be an interesting way to do it. Now, Andrew Gaff and another player, pure scenario reason, so Tom Barras, let's just say that. Or actually, let's go Jeremy McGovern because Tom Barras just re-signed. Both of them, they're not going to be in the West Coast next premiership. They're too old now. But I think both of them together could be a build for, a pretty good duo to move down to the Tassie Devils for a couple of years. And they could be successful down there as experienced players. If you trade both of them, you probably you get compensation from that, which I would say is probably around, I don't know, pick 2 or 3 probably, maybe even 1, considering both of them are pretty good.
If you're going to go both, you probably can give them 1.
Yeah, so that's how they kind of work it. So teams that are down the bottom who are rebuilding, they don't miss out on getting those top picks, but they still have to give something up for it.
Yeah.
So I think that's a better idea than what they did with the kind of where the Giants were when they first started. There were a couple of teams down the bottom. It took them even longer to rebuild because they didn't have a chance to pick up the likes of Lockie Whitfield or whatever.
Yeah.
So that's how they're kind of making that sort of work. What they're going to do as well is you will have if you sign a marquee player, the player that is the marquee player will get a $1 million to $1.5 million signing bonus. So let's say it is Matt Rao from the Gold Coast. He will get $1 million signing bonus. But what will happen is if they do pick him up, let's say from the Gold Coast, depending on how much the signing bonus is, the team who gets rid of the player will get a compensation pick.
Yeah.
So similar to how like free agency works.
Yeah.
The higher the wage of the player,
Yeah.
the better compensation pick you get.
So this ain't so what? So there's a minimum of $1 million.
Yeah.
So
well, look, I'm not going to be exact on that, but that's what they're kind of reporting, around $1 million for a sign-on bonus.
Well, you'd think it would be a top 5 pick then, wouldn't you? You'd think.
For
some, because we've already seen what free agents are coming out of in that.
I think
year.
Mackay was like what was it, 800k or something?
Yeah.
And North Melbourne got a pick in the top. Where would they get their pick in the end? I think it was in the top 10.
Yeah, it was 3
for Ben Mackay. I think it could have been 3 or 4. Yeah, it was 2 and 3. Remember they got so. It would have been one of the two.
So you'd think they'd be in the top 5. Yeah, so.
Now, obviously, it probably will be different to free agency depending on if it is a minimum of $1 million. But I think one big one is obviously Colby McKercher. 4 years time, sign-in bonus of $1 million. Oh, I get to come home and get $1 million. That's going to be a tough choice.
Yeah, I don't know if I.
Where do I sign down here, or where do you want my initials? I think that's what's going to happen with him.
Yeah, I think he's sadly going to go straight away.
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, if North Melbourne are not thinking that,
sorry, bro.
sorry.
He'd be gone like Jason Horne-Francis this year if they were in the league. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Anyway, so this sort of system, the way they're doing it, is kind of so teams like if it was a West Coast down the bottom, which I'm not expecting them to be going up anytime soon, so they still could be down.
So there's a chance
they still could be down there. So a team that is still rebuilding doesn't like completely halt their rebuild of picking up draftees, but they still have a chance to go get those draftees, but they have to give up something, which. I think, look, it still does halt the rebuild of these other clubs to an extent because they don't just get outright to keep their experienced players and get that draft pick.
Yeah.
But I don't think there's a perfect system here. I think that's as pretty good as they're going to get. I think that's a pretty good start.
I think the AFL are trying to find another avenue since the Giants, since the Gold Coast, and see if this way is better.
Yeah, because I think because I don't even know if they're going to have their stadium, the Tassie Devils, by the time they get to game day round 1 2029.
Well, they're saying that if it's not built by the October, I think before they enter, if it's not, I think 60 or 70% built, they're going to move it back another year.
Yeah,
just so they get the whole stadium ready. So. I don't know.
Yeah, look. And then there was also the election this weekend. I didn't follow it.
I don't know.
No, sorry, guys. I can't believe we didn't follow the politics of Tasmania for you. But I think that the Liberals won and that they were against the build of the stadium.
No, they were. The win. I don't know.
I doubt they were. But
I can't remember.
Again, didn't follow it at all. But that does have a factor on the stadium build.
Yes.
So, yeah, that's basically what I was trying to get to. So there's your political chat for the week. Obviously, you guys are mad political people who watch this podcast. But yeah, that's also another factor for the Tassie Devils. But yeah, I just saw that sort of information this week and I thought that was an interesting breakdown of it. And that's kind of where I'm sitting of like, that's kind of the point now where the Tassie Devils list build comes and how they're going to pick up their marquee players because it is going to be difficult. Other than like, if they can find some Tassie talent from already in the league, there's not a lot of it. So... obviously they're talking about Colby McKercher. There was a couple that they saw, Riley Sanders as well, from the Bulldogs. He was from Tassie. But obviously, there's not a lot of it. So it's going to be a lot harder to bring a marquee player down to Tasmania. So that's why they've brought in this sign-in bonus and stuff.
Yeah.
To bring in I keep on saying Matt Rao, but the only reason why I say Matt Rao is because he was mentioned as like he will be a free agent by that point.
Could have went so wrong. I think it's the wrong.
All right, who's gonna go? Caleb Sarong. All right, I'm going Matt Rowd. You're going Caleb Sarong. Should we start up with like a fake Twitter account, like start putting out bullshit?
Oh, what everyone else seems to be doing.
Tom Morris's burner account. Yeah, I think it's a good idea. Yeah, so let's move on, guys. That's basically all the news and other stuff throughout the week. So let's get into our tips for round 3. And, of course, guys, we do have our AFL tipping comp, which you guys should have joined by the time we mentioned it about 50 million times throughout the off-season. But if you do win our AFL tipping comp, if you are a part of it and you are listening to this, you will get a $125 gift voucher to the AFL store and an A3 print from our footy print company, BR Designs. Your choice of any of them. And by then, we should have a couple more designs in, so good luck to you. Now, this week, I got 6 tips, and I sit in 11th spot out of 13 people. Fuck, that's bad. Now, to be fair, my margin is mainly the reason for that, because I think every single first game of the round so far I've got wrong. I've got wrong. So, not only has the margin been off, but it's also been increased because of the team who wins, the margin gets added onto that. So, I've got like, it's basically like the percentage of West Coast. Yeah. It's pretty bad. Well, how did you go this week? What did you get?
I got 6 as well.
Yeah.
I'm in 8th at the moment, so
you just got a better percentage than me, basically.
Pretty much.
Yeah. We did tip the same last week, I do remember. So we're both. Where are you sitting on the ladder? You're sitting in 8th.
8th,
and I'm sitting in 11th.
So what? We're 3 behind the leader.
So we're 3 behind the leader. They are on 17, and it is I am the best West. I think it's the.
I am the best in the West.
Yeah, sorry, I can't see the name correctly, but Brandon S. is currently leading. Congratulations, mate. I do remember this guy was in the comment section trying to join up the tipping comp, and he almost didn't get in. So he got in with hours to spare.
You thought, yeah.
I tried to keep him out because I knew he was like a little smoky to win.
Yeah.
No, I saw him and he was like, I couldn't get into the league, but he got his way in there and he's actually doing fucking well. So congratulations, Brendan. You're in front at the moment. You haven't won shit yet, but you are in front of the tipping comp. So congratulations to you. So let's get into the tips for round 3. I have tipped Brisbane on Thursday night against Collingwood. On Friday evening, the Easter Friday clash, I've picked Carlton over North Melbourne. Then Friday night, I've picked the Dockers over the Crows. A little bit of an upset brewing I've picked here. I've picked Essendon over St Kilda. Port Adelaide, I've picked over Melbourne on Saturday night. Sunday early game, I've picked the Bulldogs over the Eagles. I picked Sydney over Richmond on Sunday afternoon. And on Monday, the traditional Easter Monday clash, I have picked Geelong over Hawthorn. Alright, so who have you tipped this week?
Alright, so we'll go back to Easter Thursday. I've went Brisbane over Collingwood. Good Friday appeal game. I've went Carlton over North Melbourne. Friday night, I've went the Crows over the Dockers. Saturday afternoon, I've went the Saints over Essendon. Saturday night, I've went Port over Melbourne. Sunday, I've went the Bulldogs over the Eagles. Sunday afternoon, the Swans over Richmond. And on Easter Monday, I've went Geelong over Hawthorn.
Alrighty, so we've got 2 different this week. I've gone Freo over the Crows, and you've gone St Kilda over Essendon. So I guess let's cover the Thursday game first. So obviously this is the grand final rematch, Brisbane v Collingwood. Massive, massive game. Obviously this will be the game that, one team will finally get their first win. Unless it's a draw. That would be funny. Anyway, the only reason really I've gone for Brisbane here is because it's at the Gabba. And that's really it. I feel like Brisbane have played a little bit better than Collingwood in the first couple of weeks though, but they haven't played much better. I think that Collingwood are a really big slump right now, and I think with the week off for Brisbane, I think it will help them because I feel like that's just going to break their trend of losses. That's basically the only reason why I'm picking Brisbane, and I do think that Joe Danaher's going to have a big game.
I went Brisbane. One reason was because it is at the Gabba. The other reason is that Brisbane have started games well. They've just coughed up a lead.
Yeah.
And maybe the week off will help them with that, but I don't think they're going to lose another game at the Gabba in a row. I don't think they can lose 2 games in a row at the Gabba.
Yeah. And I think the big point as well on the Collingwood side is I just don't think they can kick a winning score against Brisbane. And they have not found a way forward this year to really kick a higher score. So I just can't see them kicking 100 plus points here.
Well, last year Collingwood were one of the best teams of converting once they get inside 50.
Yeah.
They're getting it inside 50 at the moment, but they just can't convert. With the really, they don't really have a tall forward, really. If you look at it, Mason Cox can't mark anything.
Yeah.
Well, they're
He couldn't
resting
catch
Buck.
a cold.
No. Mycheck...
He's not down on form.
He's down on form, but he's not tall enough to, or strong enough to be that big, tall forward. So, and their smalls aren't really doing it the job at the moment.
Yeah, probably Bobby Hill's the only one who's played decent.
I think McCreary's done okay. I think he was good last week.
Yeah, McCreary's done alright.
But yeah, they're just
Lockie Schultz is down.
Schultz
on
looks
form.
shot.
Yeah. And who's the other one? Jamie Elliott. He's not played that well. Look, he hasn't played the worst, but he's a lot better than what he's been playing the last few weeks.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty fair to say. So that's kind of our thoughts on that game. Let's get to the first difference. Friday night, Fremantle versus Adelaide. This is in Optus, so big game. I've picked Fremantle because, one, it is in Perth, and the Crows have not played well away from home for a while, obviously.
The last 2 years.
Yeah. The Crows are down on form. And I think Fremantle are playing a good brand of football, and I think their midfield, Freo's midfield, is a lot stronger over the football. The likes of Brayshaw, Sarong, and Fife are going to be way too good in the midfield for the likes of Dawson, Laird, Crouch. You know, after those three of the Crows, when they have to rotate out, I feel like Fremantle have a lot more to go with here.
Yeah.
And that's why I think that if Fremantle can get the ball in forward enough from clearance, they'll win this game pretty easily. And I do think Fremantle's defence does hold up against the Crows' forward line, because I don't think the Crows' forward line has really done well so far. And that's mainly to do with the midfield of the Crows. Their inside 50 has been atrocious the first few weeks. They just can't get the ball inside 50. Sorry, they can get it inside 50, but the way they're going in there is so bad that they just keep on missing their targets.
Well, I watched the last quarter of that last week against Geelong. They couldn't even hit a 15-metre pass inside 50. They were horrible in that last quarter.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So why have you picked the Crows?
Because I think the SA media will absolutely roast the Crows this week. They have played pathetic football, and they show up for the last quarter, for the last two games.
Did you have a chat with Kane Corns over the week? You've not been this adamant over the podcast in 54, 55 episodes, and all of a sudden you're throwing out, they're going to roast the Crows this week. Anyway, sorry, I love the intensity.
I thought it was about time.
Yeah, about time you broke into it.
Yeah, surely they're going to show up. And I think, yes, Taylor Walker missed the first week. He came back last week. I think maybe they just need another week, and he'll get Alex Pearce, and I think it will be. I just don't know about Alex Pearce. I don't think he's a very good defender, really. Like, I think he's a good defender, but he's gonna get muscled out by Taylor Walker this week. I think he's gonna kick back 4 or 5 goals and win the game.
Do you want me to cut that out? He's not a good defender. Holy crap, you're coming out with everything today. Fucking hell, that may be the biggest disagreement I've ever had against you.
Yeah,
Alex Pearce is not a good defender. I'm going to cut that.
He's not as good, yeah.
I'm going to cut that and put that into TikTok, and you can have a bunch of Freo supporters going, what the fuck is this guy talking about?
Yeah, well, the last thing I want to say about this is that I'm not going to get too much into the first game against Brisbane Freos, how they came back and won that. I'm going to talk about last week against North Melbourne. They gave up a 32-point lead. North Melbourne were up by 32 points. Yes, they won in the game, but they let North Melbourne look good.
Yeah.
In a team that doesn't really is shit house, really. That's been shit house for the last 5 years.
Yeah.
If you make North Melbourne look good against the Crows' potency up forward, you can't let that happen. If they are up by 32 points, the Crows at halftime, halfway during the second quarter, you're not going to win that game. You're not going to. I don't think they can pile on 10 goals to win.
Okay, all right. I get that point. That makes more sense than Alex Pearce is a shit defender. I didn't say shit. Anyway, to the last difference of tipping, which was St Kilda and Essendon. Now, I'll go with you first. Why did you pick St Kilda? Because they are the favourite.
Because I think they're playing good football. Well, I don't think that the Essendon Edge is going to do anything to hamper that. Max King is out, isn't he, this week?
He is repealing it, so we'll see on Tuesday if he does get.
Yeah, I think, to be honest, even if he gets a week, I think it showed last season when he was out for the first majority of the season. They were able to cope with it.
Yeah.
I just think that if the game was at, say, the MCG, because it's at Marvel, I'll be tipping Essendon. But because it's at Marvel, St Kilda know how to play the ground. I think they'll play off it really well. Sinclair, another week into the season, I think will show he'll get a lot more midfield time.
Yeah,
and
because we saw how Wanganeen Miller was.
Oh my god, best game he's played his career.
Yeah.
He played a good couple games last season, but I think that this could be his breakout season as well.
Well, if he plays like that for the rest of the season, he gets all Australian.
Oh, definitely. I don't trust the forward line of Essendon, especially without Peter Wright. He's definitely not playing this week.
Yeah.
And I just don't know if that defence of St Kilda are going to have much trouble against the forwards of Essendon.
Okay. So the reason why I have gone Essendon is because I think they're in for a response here. I think that, not that they've been raked through the coals this week, or so far this week, this is obviously Monday, but I think they're going to respond here. I think that the Swans have called them out quite a lot. What?
So what, you're going to think they're going to play even dirtier? So how many more people are going to get suspended this week?
No, I think they're going to be more controlled with their aggression. That's what I kind of was inkling at. They're going to be a lot more controlled in their aggression, a lot more onto the ball. And I think St Kilda, we have seen in the past, and this has been St Kilda for years now, as soon as they get under pressure, they start to immediately play their game of overhandballing to cause them turnover. So yeah. I think this is what's going to happen. I think Essendon are going to put so much pressure on the ball for the game that St Kilda are going to capitulate, and Essendon will go on and win this game. I think Peter Wright will be a huge out. Jake Stringer, this is his contract year, so he's in for a 50-goal season.
Yeah, he'll perform with the extra couple of years.
Yeah, extra year or two. But I think Kyle Langford, he had a pretty down week against Sydney. I think he'll be good this week. And they'll bring back Harry Jones for Essendon. And I think that they will struggle to kick goals, but I just think that St Kilda will cause enough turnover here. I think Essendon will respond with a lot more controlled aggression on the ball rather than the player. And I think they can go on and win this game. That's kind of the reasoning why I've gone with Essendon. Do you understand where I've kind of come from?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So that's really all the tips we've got for this week, guys. So let's move on now, and we'll move to our AFL Fantasy Review. So, looking at my score for this week, it wasn't the greatest. It was 1,729, which, look, on the scheme of things, it's not the greatest, but there was a couple of players. This was like the first of the bye weeks. Yeah. So obviously Brisbane and Carlton had the bye. I only had the one player out. It was Zach Williams on for like the buys, and I didn't have any Brisbane players. So luckily that was okay, but I just got shit on by injury here. I had Nick Caulfield. I brought him into the team. That was so stupid. I changed my trade late. So if you watched the trade review last week in the podcast, you obviously know that I didn't have Nick Caulfield. I didn't bring him in. The only reason why I changed my trade is because Marty Hoare, who I did bring in, was called as the sub for Melbourne. So I was able to reverse that trade. Might as well have gone with Marty Hoare because he got 33 in the end, which was a lot better. But so Nick Caulfield obviously scored 2, but that was pretty damning. At my forward line though, because I had to bring Jackson Mead into the forward line last week because of the introduction to get Riley Bonner. My forward line had not a lot going with it. Other than Sam Flanders right now, who's averaging over 80, no other one of my forwards are averaging over 80. Now, it's not exactly easy to pick a forward line this year. I will say that. Isaac Heaney's basically the only one who's like dominating.
Oh, Luke Jackson was playing, alright.
Yeah, but what I meant by that is like it's very hard to pick a forward line this year because I feel like when Darcy comes back, I can't pick up Jackson's just not going to get that spot.
Yeah.
I just struggle to pick him up. But because of that, my forward line is not doing that well. James Jordan had a pretty good game for the Swans, but it's only got 76 points, which was my second highest scorer in the forward line, which, isn't the worst looking at a lot of teams' forward lines, but it's just not good enough at this stage. And the introduction of Riley Bonner was a huge mistake. Look, it wasn't that much better than me. I was going to go with Archie Perkins. He only scored 65 in the end, so that would have been a 4-point difference. But Bonner only scored 61.
Well, didn't you see it coming with Sinclair coming back in?
Well, I don't think it was Sinclair, because I think he played a lot more midfield. He played a little bit of halfback, but I think the main reason was because of Wanganeen Miller.
Yeah.
He had such a good game. So, yeah, the unfortunate thing is, though, I can't get rid of him. He did go up in price. He went up by 30k, Riley Bonner, so that's not the worst. I'll take that, but on the fact that it wasn't good enough for my points for the team, it's just unfortunate. good performance from it's an okay performance from Bontempelli, 104. I'll take that. But at the end of the day, this is a guy who I was expecting to be averaging 110, and he hasn't broken that yet.
Yeah.
So he's obviously not going anywhere, but it's still not a good start from him, really. Tom Green, he's been my best, and I think if you don't have Tom Green, you're very unlucky you started. I don't know why you wouldn't have picked it, unless you got Caleb Sarong. That's basically the only one I would give you the pass for.
Yeah, that's the only other. Yeah.
Yeah. Nick Dacos, shocker. We already talked about that in the review bit or whatever. Hayden Young didn't have a best game. I did have a good game with Elliot Yeo. He had scored 98, so I'll take that. But overall, just a little bit of a poor week for me. And also, Matt Roberts, I got to put in the team. I put him in this week because I had to, because a couple of players are out with subs, but buys and whatever. But yeah, in the end of the day, wasn't the best week. 1,729 is not one to much write home about. I did obviously lose the Caulfield score because you only get 18 players scored in the end. So looking over to the league, obviously we do have the AFL Fantasy League, and basically get the same prizes you do with the tipping comp. I lost again.
A good start.
Not a very good start. I talked myself up all the way through the off-season about how decent I am at AFL Fantasy anyway. To be fair, the guy I lost to is currently second, so I'm not doing that poorly. You're sitting on third. You're doing pretty good.
Yeah.
I'm currently sitting in 15th spot. So right now, I'm just on the brink of playing the stupid finals at the end of the year. You know when you play, between the back end finals.
The loser finals.
Yeah, the loser finals. So I'm currently 0-2. Poor start for me. I'm actually not even scoring that high either. So
what rank are you?
My rank currently is 43,729. So
you can kiss away the car.
Damn it, I missed out on my car. Damn it. I thought I had it this year, definitely.
Yeah. Were you a break? You were going to do well.
Yeah, I already sold my car. I thought I had it. But no, unfortunately, don't have that. So we move into my trades for this week. So this week I've basically gone with, I have to start generating some money to then get some big money players to get some of these mid-price players out. Because the mid-price players that I went with, the likes of, not so much Mead, but Mead was one of the lower ones. I have to try and get rid of. Riley Bonner, really big mistake. I'm going to have to get rid of that one pretty quickly. And there's just a couple of others. There's not a lot of price generation going on my bench other than Howes, really, which I've had to kind of bring into my team now. Matt Roberts as well. The reserves I picked probably wasn't the greatest either because Jai Clark hasn't done a lot.
Yeah.
He's done okay. Well, he's not even done really okay. But Lazaro hasn't done that much. Windsor hasn't done a lot. Cadman's probably been one of my better performers. But I was thinking Windsor was going to be a big price money getter, and he hasn't really done a lot. And Darcy Wilson as well. I thought he was going to be a little bit better. He hasn't done a lot.
He played. I watched the St Kilda game. He played one good quarter, and he got like 37, and he scored 56. It's like 19 in the other two quarters. Three quarters. Like, come on.
Yeah, I was kind of hoping for better. So what I've done is I've got rid of Alex Sexton. I think the first 2 weeks have kind of proven to me that it's not going to be him that's going to be getting a lot of those touches. I feel like it's going to be the other guys. So I've got rid of Alex Sexton. I've picked up Jeremy Sharp. I feel like Jeremy Sharp, his first 2 weeks, he's got over 70. So I have to bring him in.
Oh, yeah, right. You didn't
I got rid of him because I picked up someone else in the midfield. I can't remember who it was at the start of the year. I could scroll back, but it's too long. Anyway, so I got rid of Sexton for Sharp. So that's given me a bit of cash. And the other trade that I've done is I've got rid of Nick Caulfield. He's not going to play for a couple of weeks. That was a quick in and out for him.
Yeah.
And at the moment, I've picked Ari Schoenmaker. Now, I don't know if he's going to get a game this week, so this may change. But in the VFL, I think it was the practice game, or was it the regular VFL season starting? Whatever it was, he had 31 touches in the game. He was a pretty big performance from him. And I think that he's going to get a pretty early game for the Saints. May not be this week, but I may even keep it as him because I do think he's going to get a debut pretty quickly.
Yeah, and he is base price at 200.
Yeah, he's base price at 200. So right now, that's given me 256k in the salary right now. So in the next couple of weeks, I'm going to be starting to trade out some players, see where I go. Probably Riley Bonner, Jackson Mead are the next couple of players I'm looking to get rid of right now. And that's kind of where I'm looking at right now. With the buys this week, I've had to take Flanders, Miller, Tom Green out of the team. So who are in my regular 22. I've had to take them into the bench. I've been able to bring... So luckily, I still have a full 22 this week.
Yeah.
So Charlie Lazaro's came into the team. Jeremy Sharp, Matt Roberts are into the team as well. So I don't have too many issues on that front. And this week, I'm going up against... I think it's Cardman, it is. So this is one of the YouTubers, Cardman. I'm sure you guys know if you watch AFL YouTube. Got like 32,000 subscribers. I think I got up against him this week. Yeah, I do. So he's 1-1 at the moment. So hopefully I can break back and win this week. Like we've mentioned a few times, this is a bye week, so only the top 18 scores will be counted. The last couple or whatever, your lowest scores after 18 will be taken out.
Who did you pick as your VC and captain this week?
So this week, my VC has gone to Nick Dacos at this stage. That will probably change to... Actually, I'm going to change that one right now. I'm going to make Harry Sheaves my vice. And my captain for this week is Marcus Bontempelli because they're playing against the West Coast Eagles, and I think he'll have a big game.
You just picked the same as me now.
So at the moment, you've copied me. You must have Anyway, that's kind of where I'm looking at this week. Let's move into your review.
All right, well, it was pretty poor week, I'd say. I got 1806.
Oh, pretty poor week. It's got nearly 100 more than me.
Yeah, well.
Pretty cool.
My team's better, I guess.
Yeah, hopefully you're okay.
Basically, last week, it was just basically that my forward line was so poor. Like I said, like with you, 87 was the highest from Flanders. I kept Fisher, who got 85.
Yeah, that was done for me.
And then, then the next verse was Jordan with 76. The lowest was still Sexton with 49.
He went forward in the last quarter, for people are wondering, because they had to try something new, but that didn't work.
No, and to be honest, like I said, him, Dacos getting a 61, and I got a lot of 70s. That's what was really poor about this week. Yeah. And a lot of the... I had Roberts on my bench, which was unlucky to have him. And then rookies just aren't scoring at the moment, really.
Right now, when round 6 comes around, Matt Roberts probably goes to defence. He's having a pretty good start to the season. He may well just slot straight into
defence. And he's getting
defense.
a lot of junk score, like a lot of marks and kicks.
They're going to him a lot more for Sydney. I've noticed watching this Swans games. They're using him quite a lot more than Jake Lloyd. So that's a very...
I've seen that, yeah.
You know, if you no one would not have him at this point. But yeah, it's been very interesting for Matt Roberts, development.
Well, he's at 41% owned, so...
That's not even that high.
No.
You'd think it'd be more than that.
No, well, when you look at it, like, Harley Reid's at 83%.
Oh,
yeah.
And Harley Reid hasn't done that well.
No. So... so you're looking at it. I did pick the right captain again. I kept it at Tom Green. I think that was obvious against the Eagles.
Yeah.
120, 240. Zach Butters, again, 117. Harry Shieldsall, 121. Getting really annoyed at Luke Davis-Uniacke.
Yeah, he's been one for me too, but I've got way too many more issues.
Yeah, and like a player that should be nailing over 100 has not got one yet. 98 and 96. It's like everyone without Jai Simpkin the first week, you think he would perform. Last week with him in the team, you think he'd perform again, but he seems to just be getting a lot of poor score at the moment. Gawn. He started slow against Hawthorn, but...
He worked into it. He got 107, so
you take it. Brody Grundy came back into form, I thought, after his first week of first round one.
Yeah. I think it's interesting. I was looking at that and I was thinking maybe I'd get Cherry, but the thing is, even if I got Cherry now, he's got 200, so that is the point. Maybe I'll get him when Sydney have their bye. Or Melbourne have their bye. But at this point, Cherry's almost the same price. And at this point, I'm thinking they're going to average pretty similar.
Yeah.
So that is if the bye, Brody Grundy or Max Gawn at their buys aren't doing that well, I may consider going to Cherry. But at this point, I'm kind of just thinking, unless you started with him, there's not really any point trading him in.
Yeah. So, go to my league. I did win. I won by 9 points last week. I was a little bit scared because the guy I played, Lee had Caulfield. He got a 2. So, obviously, that was going to get cut out because only top 18 scores count. So, I was like, oh, fuck. He might actually win this week. And luckily, he picked Bontempelli as his captain, which I was so happy about.
Well, that would have been the difference. If he would have had Tom Green, didn't he?
No, he didn't actually.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, so I was just lucky on that point, that front. If we go to so I'm in 3rd at the moment in the league, so happy about that. Coming up against next week is that's not right, is it? So next week I'm playing the 6th position. So I'm pretty sure I'm gonna lose this week. because obviously with the buys of the Gold Coast and Jerry West, I'm losing a Sexton, Green, Flanders and Took Miller, which I'm not happy about.
So let's get to your trades. What have you got this week?
So my trades so far, I got rid of Charlie Dean and I got Shilemaker from St Kilda, just for the extra cash, and I need some more cash because there's just no coin generation. So yes, the 290 plus scores, but I got rid of Luke Davis-Uniacke because my team's that good at the moment that I can do that. And I decided to get Matt Crouch because he's still under 800k and he's averaging 110.
He's got 200s in his first 2 games, so he's done really well. Matt Crouch is an interesting player that I've been looking at for the last few weeks, and it's just been I don't have the luxury of doing that yet. I've got to do some major turning points now.
Luckily for me, the injuries haven't hit me at the moment.
Yeah, well, I picked up Zach Reed at the start of the season. He got injured. Nick Caulfield got injured as well.
Josh Gibkiss
as well. I think the 3 major fantasy favourite players that have been injured have been mine.
Yeah.
So the last few years I haven't had that issue, but this year I've just hit the roadblock. So that's been something that I've had to really focus on.
I was either thinking Matt Crouch or Jack Steele because they're both averaging the same, but obviously with the fact is that he's so much cheaper, it's given me 125k in the bank. So next week, because I think someone like a Sexton, who is annoying me, is getting less than 70 as a player at 500, less than 500k, needs to generate cash, and he's just not doing that. So I just need to generate some cash coming in to gather around when every team plays again next week. Yeah, maybe that will help me out. And I did lose rank, obviously, because it was such a poor week. I'm still in the top 10,000, 8,503. So,
oh god, this is embarrassing. All right, guys, it's going to be a long podcast this week, but I'm sure you guys would love to hear our beautiful baritones. And we get to the fan favourite segment because it's my favourite segment, the Flog of the Week. We are back with another one. Woohoo! Oh yeah! On TikTok, we've been putting a nice little Mario sound effect at the start. I think it's pretty sick. Anyway, last few weeks we've been giving out the Flog of the Week. We got Mason Cox a couple of weeks ago. Last week was a couple of journalists who were making up some fake trade rumours and all that sort of stuff. This week it's another journalist, but they were too scared to put their name to the journalist, to the article. So it's going to the news publication Perth Now. So... In the Western Australian, they have posted Harley Reid about 40 times, or 34 or 35 times in the space of about 40 days or something. Absolutely ridiculous. They can't leave this bastard alone. I feel sorry for him.
Yeah.
Anyway, so most of it is about how good Harley Reid will be, or or he's too overhyped, or all this sort of stuff.
So they might put him in the paper if he's too overhyped.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Anyway, obviously, he's got so much hype around Harley Reid, and I get it. He's obviously had a lot of stuff over his under 18s, and look, the start of his career hasn't been he's had 2 games, so who cares? He's obviously this guy has played 2 games of AFL football, so let's just give the guy a rest. But Perth Now thought that they would jump into his personal life and take a couple of screenshots basically and blow it out to a fucking huge news story.
Yeah.
So Perth Now are reporting a massive story about Harley Reid. Harley Reid is off the market after West Coast young gun seen sharing a kiss with Carlton's Yasmin Dersma in the rooms. Oh my god, leave the bastard alone.
Yeah.
We don't need to know about Harley Reid's personal life. I don't care. You don't care.
No.
The West Coast Eagles public don't care. No one gives a fuck.
No.
So, you don't need to report on this cunt's life. Okay? The guy is already under pressure as it is because he's played 2 games of football and you guys have been putting so much pressure on him. It's not as similar. I don't know how much they went into Ben Cousins because I don't live in Western Australia, but a lot of people are saying that this is very similar to how Ben Cousins was reported, and we know how his career went.
Yeah.
We don't want another career to go like that. We want this guy to be a massive player in years to come. And I understand that there's only 2 clubs in Western Australia, and it is kind of similar here, that if we had a player at this calibre here in South Australia, there would probably be... I don't know if it would be this much reporting, but it would be a lot about it. But to the point now where they are making up, this is like Entertainment Tonight with paparazzi reporting, Harley Reid, TikTok superstar, is dating Yasmin Dersma. Oh my God. We need to talk about this in the news. Who cares?
Yeah.
Like, if the guy's single, if the guy's married, if the guy is gay, if the guy is asexual, who gives a shit? Leave the guy alone. And Perth now, don't give a fuck about your stupid news publication. The only award you're going to have is not even the Flog of the Year, because I don't even know if you're worth that much, but you are the nominee for this week's edition of the Flog of the Week.
Yeah.
And trust me, guys, there were so many candidates this week. We had Peter Wright was pretty high up there. He was going to have a chance. Eddie Maguire had a go at it with his reporting about bloody Josh Dacos, and then had to have a little dig at Jack Ginnivan for his cocaine use in the past. There are a lot of people vying for it. I think they're starting to hear it, and starting to listen to the Flog of the Week, and they're like,
how do we get on there?
How do we get involved?
Yeah.
I think this is what's happening. And guys, this is going big. This is going Australia-wide, obviously. People just can't get enough of the Flog of the Week.
Yeah. The one thing I will say about Harley Reid's situation is that I'll see at the end of the year. I'll bet you there'll be a trade request back to Melbourne.
What, you think he'll make a trade request?
Well, there'll be reports on it.
Oh, yeah. I think it's a very interesting point. I think there will be a bunch of fake trade rumours about Harley Reid moving back to Melbourne to be with his lover in Yasmin Dersma.
Yeah, of course there will be. Now that there's going to be so many. I'm surprised there hasn't been one out yet this week.
Yeah, well, I mean, the amount of little things that they can try and take out of context and stuff. I'm very surprised. I think it's a little bit early though. It's a little bit early. They've already got another 6 reports about how big his penis is. They're gonna wait for that. And then they'll talk about.
Well, we should check how many times they go to Victoria this season, because
Yeah, Harley Reid has met up with a draftee friend of his that plays at St Kilda. He will be moving at the Saints at the end of the season. What did they talk about? First reports here in Perth now. The biggest fuckwit publication in Perth.
Well, don't Carlton play twice against West Coast this season?
Harley Reid moving to Carlton after playing twice and having a friendly conversation with Patrick Cripps. You're right. I think we're thinking of a lot of headlines coming out here.
Yeah, hopefully none of the journos steal one of these headlines.
Well, they're obviously watching. They're vying for the nominee this year.
Yeah.
Now, like we've mentioned a few times as well, guys, at the end of the year when we do the Boundary Riders medal count, we'll be doing I don't know how many awards we'll be doing, but the award for the Flog of the Year will be made at the end of the year. So basically what we're thinking at this stage is me and my brother will be making a nomination of the 2 that we think are the biggest of the year, and you guys will be the tiebreaker of who you think will win. That's basically what we're kind of thinking. That's kind of where we're heading, guys, for that. At the moment, could you think of which... We've had a few nominees so far. Let's kind of go through them. Who do you think's kind of in front? We've had... So far, with the Harley Reid one, that's pretty high up there in my opinion. We had Sam McClure at the start of the year with how many times he changed his mind about Carlton being the premiership favourite.
That was one of my favourites. Is literally he went from one team to another
in the space of 2 weeks.
Yeah, and then didn't say that they were going to be premiers.
Then calling all the supporters who don't believe Carlton are premiership favourites idiots, and then a week later was like, Port Adelaide and Collingwood will be playing in the grand final.
Yeah.
Yeah, fuck it. Anyway, the next week we got Jimmy Webster with a hit on Simpkin. It's up there, but it's that's just a brain fade. I don't know if that's I don't know if it's worthy. Mason Cox with his plugging his podcast instead of explaining the incident that happened against the Giants. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like an AFL player, if it's an AFL player who gets the nomination at the end of the year, they have to do something really bad.
Yeah.
Because at the moment, I think the journalist stuff has to be at the top. Because I feel like they don't get called out enough.
Yeah, that's the thing, yeah.
That's what I'm thinking. If you fuck up the worst, if the AFL player does something a little bit dumb or does something, pretty bad on the football field, but comes out and apologises and that, I feel like that's not as bad as Sam McClure making all his stupid reporting opinion crap and then, just a week later changing his opinion because that will get more clicks. Yeah. So that's kind of where we're heading, guys. That's kind of the nomination so far. We've only had a couple. Before we move into the World Sports segment, of course, we do have a Patreon. If you guys want to join our Patreon, it is linked down below. It's about $5 a month or something. You get a bunch of exclusive perks. You get the podcast out early. You get early access to the video essay mini docos that we've been making. I've actually made another one about the Sydney Swans that's coming out in about 3 or 4 weeks. But if you want to watch that one right now, it's up on Patreon. Like, kind of similar to the St Kilda video, like how the way it's edited and stuff. So if you want to watch that, it's on there now. You get early access to any other videos and that we make on the Boundary Riders YouTube channel, and you also get a 15% discount code to BR Designs. So that's exclusive for Patreon members. You get 15% off any design on the store. And the other thing you get, this is more on the Twinners stuff, the Twinners podcast that we do, you get to watch the live stream that we do every single week, and you obviously get early access to that as well. All right, guys, there's not a lot of stuff to talk about the World Sports stuff this week. Australia did beat Lebanon in their last game, or was it Palestine?
No, it's Lebanon.
So they beat Lebanon, and they... Sorry, we did record a little bit of the World Sport. We just realised there was nothing to talk about really this week. So Australia did win their game, and they do have a World Cup qualifier on Tuesday, which would have already been shown. So we made a quick prediction. I think they'll win 3-1 against Lebanon. You said 1-0.
Yeah. That's
kind of the only stuff we really have for World Sport this week, guys, because a lot of the Premier League has been off for the World Cup qualifiers and stuff around the globe. And yeah, that's kind of really all we've got this week for the podcast. So thank you for listening and watching. If you did watch on YouTube, make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. We're so close to 500 subs, so make sure to join us. And if you are listening on Spotify, make sure to leave us 5 stars. It really does help grow the podcast on Spotify. We've got, I think we've got 4 or 5 followers over there now, but only 2 5-star reviews. So we are averaging about 5 or 6 listeners. So if you are listening, quickly go to the top, click the 5-star point, and leave a nice little review for us. How about that? That would make me feel pretty good, eh?
Yeah, 100%.
Anyway, if you heard a little Patreon plug before. If you're not going to join the Patreon, that's fine. You can leave us 5 stars. I think that's pretty well enough. And also, if you're over there, make sure to follow as well, which means you'll be notified on all the podcast episodes, as well as the reviews. We've been releasing the reviews on Spotify, if you don't know. So if you do want to listen to it rather than just watching it, because I know sometimes people don't have YouTube Premium, and you obviously have to keep it watching. I don't know if you're doing your homework or you're driving to work or whatever, you can listen to it. Either or, that's up to you guys. That's pretty much all from us this week, guys. So we will catch you all next time.
See you later, guys.